For over 2,500 years, one of history's most sacred treasures has been missing without a trace. The Ark of the Covenant, a chest said to hold the Ten Commandments and the presence of God Himself, vanished from Jerusalem ... and was never seen again. But what really happened to it? Was it stolen, hidden, or destroyed? In this video, we're going to uncover the truth behind the Ark's disappearance, explore ancient clues buried in the Bible and beyond, and reveal new theories that could finally solve one of history's greatest mysteries. Since ancient times, the Ark of the Covenant has been shrouded in divine power and fear. Said to bring victory to armies and death to those who touched it, it became the centerpiece of Israel's faith, and then it suddenly vanished from history. For centuries, explorers, scholars, and even secret societies have searched for it, from the Temple Mount in Jerusalem to the mountains of Ethiopia and even hidden tunnels beneath the Vatican. But the real question remains, where is it now? Today, we journey through time, across deserts, temples, and hidden vaults to unravel the untold story of the Ark of the Covenant. In the heart of the ancient desert, under a blazing sun, a group of Israelites stood at the foot of Mount Sinai. Thunder rolled across the mountains. Lightning illuminated the sky, and from the peak came the voice of the divine, a voice that commanded the building of something extraordinary, something unlike anything seen before. It was to be the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest that would carry not only the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, but the very essence of God's presence on earth. The story begins around 3,000 years ago during the Exodus. The Israelites, having fled slavery in Egypt, were wandering through the wilderness. Moses, their leader, ascended Mount Sinai to commune with God, and when he descended, he brought with him not just laws for a new nation, but precise instructions to construct a vessel that would embody their covenant with the Almighty. Every detail mattered: the measurements, the materials, even the gold that would overlay the acacia wood. It wasn't just a container. It was a divine command fulfilled in exact perfection. The Ark measured 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 wide, and 1.5 high, about the size of a small chest, but its power was said to be limitless. Inside were placed the stone tablets carved by the hand of God, a golden pot of manna as a reminder of divine sustenance, and Aaron's rod that miraculously budded, each symbolizing a different aspect of God's covenant with His people. On top sat the mercy seat, flanked by 2 golden cherubim whose wings stretched toward one another, forming a throne for the presence of God Himself. When the Ark was completed, the air around it was said to shimmer with energy. Only the high priest could approach it, and even then, only after cleansing rituals and prayers. It was believed that to touch it without divine permission meant instant death. The Ark was placed in the innermost chamber of the tabernacle, the Holy of Holies, separated from the rest of the world by a heavy curtain. It wasn't merely a symbol of faith. It was the literal manifestation of divine authority on earth. Whenever the Israelites moved camp, the Ark led the way. It wasn't carried by just anyone. Only the Levites, chosen by God, could bear its poles upon their shoulders. Wherever the Ark went, miracles seemed to follow. Rivers parted, enemies fell, and entire nations trembled at its approach. It was the ultimate sign that God walked with His people. But it was also a source of immense fear. The book of Samuel tells us that when the Philistines captured it after a battle, their cities were struck by plagues until they returned it, terrified of the power they had unleashed. The Ark's design, described in precise detail in the scriptures, fascinated scholars for millennia. Why such specificity? Why gold, cherubim, and the exact proportions? Some researchers believe these instructions had symbolic meaning: gold representing divinity, cherubim signifying guardianship, and the dimensions themselves resonating with sacred geometry. Others suggest the Ark was not merely religious, but technological, an ancient power source, perhaps even generating an electrical charge that caused death to anyone who touched it. A theory far-fetched, yet oddly fitting for an artifact so cloaked in mystery. Ancient rabbis wrote that when the Ark rested, a radiant cloud descended upon it, filling the sanctuary with light. This was called the Shekinah glory, the visible presence of God among His people. To stand near it was to stand in the presence of the divine. And yet, despite its holiness, the Ark was always a reminder of humanity's fragile relationship with the Almighty, a connection that could bless or destroy. As centuries passed, the Ark's influence became both spiritual and political. Kings sought to possess it, priests feared to misuse it, and nations whispered of its power. It stood as the heart of Israel's faith, the one object that unified an entire people under their covenant with God. Every battle, every ceremony, every act of worship revolved around it. The Ark was not just a relic, it was the soul of a nation. But this sacred artifact, born of divine command and crafted by human hands, would soon become the center of one of the greatest mysteries in history. A mystery that would outlast empires, ignite centuries of search, and leave behind only silence where once thunder had spoken. The Ark of the Covenant was more than a sacred chest. It was a force that shaped the destiny of nations. Its power was not only spiritual but also terrifyingly physical. Wherever the Ark went, victory seemed to follow. Whenever it was carried into battle, armies fell, empires trembled, and even nature itself seemed to bend before it. For the Israelites, the Ark wasn't just a symbol of God's promise. It was his weapon, his shield, and his presence made manifest on the battlefield. The earliest records tell us that when the Israelites approached the walls of Jericho, they carried the Ark at the front of their procession. Trumpets blared, the people shouted, and the massive walls, fortified and impenetrable, crumbled to dust. Historians and theologians have long debated how such a miracle could occur. Was it divine intervention, or could the Ark have unleashed some unknown power? The story is more than legend. It marked the beginning of the Ark's reputation as a weapon of supernatural might. Everywhere the Ark appeared, it brought either triumph or tragedy. When the Israelites carried it into battle against their enemies, the Ark was their assurance that God fought alongside them. But when they treated it carelessly, disaster struck. One story tells of a time the Ark was captured by the Philistines after a crushing defeat. They brought it to their city, placing it inside the temple of their god, Dagon. By morning, the statue of Dagon had fallen face down before the Ark. The next day, it fell again, this time broken into pieces. Soon after, the Philistines were struck by plagues and tumors. Terrified, they sent the Ark back to Israel, realizing they had brought a curse upon themselves. It's moments like these that make the Ark so mysterious, an object that could bless one people and destroy another. Some scholars suggest that the Ark emitted radiation or an electrical field capable of harming those who came too close. The Bible's warnings, not to touch it, not to look inside, not to approach without permission, suddenly take on a new, chilling meaning. Was it divine wrath or a misunderstood ancient technology that unleashed forces beyond human control? The Ark's power was so revered that even within Israel it inspired both awe and fear. When King David sought to bring it to Jerusalem, the procession was halted after a man named Uzzah touched it to steady it and fell dead instantly. David himself became afraid to continue, leaving the Ark in the house of a man named Obed-Edom. For 3 months, that household flourished with blessings, as though the presence of the Ark radiated prosperity and life. Only then did David dare to bring it into his city with sacrifices and music, understanding that the Ark demanded reverence beyond measure. It's impossible to ignore the duality of the Ark. It could bring victory or destruction, depending on the heart and hands that carried it. It marched before armies, split rivers, and was said to unleash lightning-like energy. Some texts describe the Ark going before the Israelites as a consuming fire. Others speak of a glow, a radiance that surrounded it, as if it contained not just divine energy but the raw power of creation itself. Ancient traditions even suggest the Ark's presence could alter the weather, parting clouds or summoning storms. When placed in the tabernacle, a pillar of smoke rose by day and a pillar of fire by night, guiding the Israelites through the wilderness. It was both a compass and a covenant, a reminder that God's power walked with them, yet could never truly be contained. As the Israelites grew into a nation, the Ark became their most prized possession, their ultimate source of strength. Kings prayed before it, prophets spoke beside it, and enemies feared even its mention. To possess the Ark was to hold divine favor, and to lose it was to lose everything. It was no longer just an artifact of faith. It was the heartbeat of an entire civilization. And yet, as history would soon reveal, even the mightiest weapon of heaven could not save a nation from its own downfall. For when the ark vanished, it took with it not just the presence of God, but the very power that had once made Israel unstoppable. The disappearance of the Ark of the Covenant remains one of the most haunting mysteries in all of human history. One day, it stood proudly in the heart of Jerusalem, the sacred centerpiece of Solomon's magnificent temple. Priests offered sacrifices before it, and the people of Israel believed their God dwelled within its golden frame. But then, almost without warning, it was gone, vanished into silence, and history never recorded what happened next. To understand how the ark disappeared, we must step into one of the darkest chapters of ancient Jerusalem. The year was 587 BC. Babylon, the most powerful empire of the age, led by the ruthless King Nebuchadnezzar, marched toward the city. For years, Jerusalem had resisted Babylonian control, defying its rule and breaking alliances. But this time, Babylon came not to negotiate, it came to destroy. The siege of Jerusalem was brutal. Starvation, disease, and fear spread through the city as Babylonian armies surrounded it. Smoke filled the sky and screams echoed from the walls. The temple, once the house of God, became a fortress, a last refuge for those who believed the ark would protect them as it had in the days of old. Yet this time the divine silence was deafening. The ark, which once brought victory against mighty foes, stood unmoved as Babylon's battering rams crushed the city's gates. When the Babylonians finally breached the walls, they burned Jerusalem to the ground. The Temple of Solomon, one of the greatest wonders of the ancient world, was set ablaze. Gold melted into rivers of fire. Sacred treasures were looted and priests were slain. Babylon took everything of value, the sacred vessels, the golden lampstands, and even the altar itself. But among the long lists of items recorded by Babylonian scribes, one thing is conspicuously missing: the Ark of the Covenant. It's here that the trail goes cold. The Ark, which once commanded the power of heaven, simply disappears from history. No record of its capture, no mention of its destruction, no whisper of its survival. How could the most sacred object in Israel's faith vanish without a trace? Some say the Babylonians took it and later melted it down for gold, unaware of its holiness. But that theory feels hollow, for Babylon was meticulous in recording its plunder, and the Ark's absence from their own records suggests something more deliberate, something hidden. Ancient Jewish writings tell a different story. They speak of priests who, foreseeing the fall of Jerusalem, secretly removed the Ark from the temple before the Babylonians arrived. According to one legend, the prophet Jeremiah, guided by divine vision, led a small group of loyal priests to carry the Ark away under the cover of darkness. They traveled through secret tunnels beneath the city, hidden passageways that still puzzle archaeologists today, and took the Ark to a mountain cave where it would be sealed away until the end of days. Others believe the Ark was hidden somewhere on the Temple Mount itself, buried beneath layers of stone and rubble. Excavations under the mount are strictly forbidden today, partly because of its religious sensitivity, but also because of what might be hidden beneath. Could it be that the Ark has remained there, untouched, buried under the ruins of Solomon's temple for over 2,500 years? There are also whispers of another possibility. Some ancient traditions claim that the Ark was smuggled out of Jerusalem altogether, carried south by priests or Levites who escaped the destruction. They may have taken it through the desert routes toward Egypt, seeking refuge in lands beyond Babylon's reach. From there, the Ark's trail becomes tangled in centuries of myth and migration. What makes this moment in history so powerful is not only that the Ark disappeared, but that its absence changed everything. Without it, Israel lost not just a relic, it lost its spiritual center, its divine protector, its heart. The people were taken into exile, their temple reduced to ashes, and their covenant with God seemingly shattered. The disappearance of the Ark marked the end of an era, the silence after centuries of divine guidance. And yet that silence gave birth to endless speculation. Did Jeremiah's secret hiding place truly exist? Was the Ark buried beneath the temple, or did it travel across deserts, carried by the faithful into lands unknown? The fall of Jerusalem didn't destroy the Ark's legend, it only deepened the mystery. setting the stage for centuries of searching, claiming, and wondering where the sacred chest might have gone. Far from the burning ruins of Jerusalem, across deserts and seas, lies a land of high mountains and ancient faith, Ethiopia. For centuries, this mysterious African kingdom has claimed to hold the greatest treasure in human history, the Ark of the Covenant itself. The story sounds impossible at first, a legend woven through time, yet the Ethiopian people treat it not as myth, but as sacred truth. In their eyes, the Ark was never lost. It was carried to their land long before Jerusalem fell, and it still rests there today, hidden from the eyes of the world. The tale begins with a story that stretches deep into the Old Testament. According to Ethiopian tradition, when the great Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem, she was not only captivated by his wisdom but also formed a bond that would change history. Their union, it is said, brought forth a son, Menelik, who would later travel to Jerusalem to meet his father. Solomon welcomed him, honored him, and before Menelik returned to Ethiopia, something extraordinary happened. The Ark of the Covenant, guided by divine will, was taken by Menelik and his followers not as theft, but as fulfillment of prophecy to carry the presence of God to a new land. The legend tells that when Solomon discovered the Ark was gone, he was devastated, but a heavenly vision assured him it was God's will. The Ark had chosen its new resting place. From that day forward, Ethiopia became the Ark's guardian, a nation blessed and burdened with divine responsibility. It was said that wherever the Ark traveled on its journey south, miracles followed, rivers parted, enemies fell, and the skies thundered as though heaven itself was clearing the path for its arrival. When Menelik returned to his mother's kingdom, the Ark was enshrined in a sacred sanctuary, beginning a tradition that continues to this very day. The modern heart of that belief lies in the ancient city of Aksum, where a modest-looking church stands, the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. According to Ethiopian Orthodox Christians, inside that church, behind locked doors, guarded day and night, rests the true Ark of the Covenant. No one may see it, not even the highest priests, except for one chosen guardian known as the Keeper of the Ark. This man dedicates his life to the Ark, never leaving its side until his death when another takes his place. The secrecy surrounding the Ark in Aksum is absolute. Western historians and archaeologists have begged for access, but all are denied. The guardian alone claims to see it, and he never speaks of what lies within the sanctuary. Some who have visited the site describe feeling a strange, almost electric atmosphere around the church, as though something ancient and powerful truly rests inside. Others say that during certain religious festivals, the priests bring out a replica of the Ark, covered in rich cloth, while the true Ark remains hidden from human eyes, too holy to be revealed. Ethiopia's connection to the Ark runs deeper than ritual or legend. Their faith, culture, and even national identity are intertwined with it. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has hundreds of small replicas of the Ark, called tablets, placed in every church across the nation. Each symbolizes the covenant between God and humanity, a covenant they believe continues through their guardianship of the real Ark. But what if the legend is true? What if, amid centuries of war, invasion, and secrecy, Ethiopia has truly protected the Ark from the eyes of conquerors and collectors alike? There are historical records that hint at something extraordinary. In the 4th century, Christian writers mentioned Ethiopia's possession of a sacred object brought from Jerusalem. Later travelers, from medieval explorers to 20th century researchers, claimed to have seen signs of a relic so revered that even approaching it was forbidden. The possibility that the Ark could have survived in Ethiopia raises profound questions. How did it endure for over 2 millennia? Could this be the same Ark that once split rivers and struck armies down? Or could the Ethiopian Ark be a replica created in devotion to a vanished original? Even the guardians themselves never claim ownership. They say they are merely its servants, keeping it safe until God's appointed time. Every year, thousands of pilgrims travel to Aksum, many weeping as they stand before the sanctuary that no one can enter. For them, belief is enough. They don't need proof or photographs. They trust that the Ark is there, as it always has been. In a world obsessed with evidence and technology, Ethiopia's silent guardianship of the Ark stands as a defiant mystery, one that has endured through empire, invasion, and time itself. As the centuries passed, the mystery of the Ark of the Covenant drifted beyond the deserts of the Bible and into the shadowed halls of secret societies, royal courts, and holy orders. With Jerusalem in ruins and its sacred relics scattered, the Ark became more than a lost artifact. It became an obsession. Crusaders, scholars, and kings all sought it, each convinced that whoever possessed the Ark would hold the ultimate power, the authority of God Himself. Among those most associated with this divine pursuit were the mysterious Knights Templar, the warrior monks whose rise and fall became legend. The story begins during the Crusades, when Christian knights marched into the Holy Land to reclaim Jerusalem. The year was 1099, and after fierce battles, they captured the city. Among the most devoted of these warriors were the Knights Templar, an order founded to protect pilgrims and guard sacred relics. But what if their true mission was far more secret? Historical whispers suggest that the Templars were not merely soldiers, they were seekers of ancient wisdom, searching beneath the Temple Mount, the very site where Solomon's temple once stood, for treasures buried deep beneath the stones. In the 12th century, the Templars were granted permission to live on the Temple Mount itself. They called it Temple Domini, the Temple of the Lord, from which they took their name. For nearly a decade, they conducted mysterious excavations beneath the ruins. What they were looking for remains a question that has haunted historians for centuries. Ancient tunnels, sealed chambers, and secret vaults, all part of a labyrinth that still lies beneath Jerusalem. Some believe that during this time, the knights uncovered sacred relics, perhaps even the Ark itself. Whatever they found, it changed the order forever. After returning from the Holy Land, the Templars became extraordinarily wealthy and powerful, far beyond what any normal military order could achieve. They built cathedrals, held lands across Europe, and answered only to the Pope. Their sudden rise to influence led many to suspect they had discovered something incredible, something that gave them divine protection and unstoppable power. Could it have been the Ark, hidden beneath the Temple Mount for centuries and brought into their secret keeping? The Ark's journey through history now takes on a darker tone. As the Templars grew in wealth and mystery, their enemies multiplied. By the early 1300s, the French king, Philip IV, accused them of heresy and treason. On a Friday, the 13th in 1307, the Templars were arrested, tortured, and executed. Yet before the royal forces struck, much of the Templars' treasure vanished without a trace. Ships left their port in La Rochelle, sailing into the fog and disappearing from history. Many believe they carried their greatest secret, perhaps even the Ark of the Covenant itself, across the seas to a new hiding place. From there, the legend only deepened. Some say the Ark was taken to Scotland, where the surviving Templars guarded it in secret, merging their order with local brotherhoods that would later evolve into the Freemasons. Others claim it was hidden in France, buried beneath ancient chapels and castles, waiting for a time when humanity would be ready to uncover it again. The Freemasons, who inherited much of the Templar symbolism, continued the legend through secret rituals and coded architecture. Many of their buildings, including great cathedrals and even American landmarks, are said to contain subtle references to the Ark, the chest of divine power that symbolizes enlightenment and divine law. But the trail doesn't end there. Another thread of the story leads to the heart of Rome, the Vatican itself. For centuries, rumors have swirled that the Church may possess ancient relics hidden deep within its secret archives, a place said to hold miles of shelves filled with forbidden knowledge. Could the Ark be among them, stored away for protection, or perhaps to conceal truths the world is not ready to face? Some former priests and historians claim that documents exist hinting that the Ark was indeed found during the Crusades and quietly transferred into the Church's possession. The Vatican, of course, denies such claims, maintaining that the Ark's location remains unknown. Yet the secrecy of those archives only fuels the fire. The possibility that the Ark passed through the hands of secret societies and the Church raises unsettling questions. Was it hidden to protect humanity from its power, or to keep that power within reach of only a chosen few? Did the Templars discover something so sacred and dangerous that the world could never be allowed to see it? And if the Vatican truly guards it, Does it still hold the same energy, the same divine force that once leveled walls and brought kings to their knees? From Jerusalem's buried tunnels to the cathedrals of Europe and the vaults of Rome, the Ark's legend moves through history like a shadow, connecting faith, power, and secrecy. Every generation that has sought it has done so not merely out of curiosity, but out of a desire for control, to command the presence of God on earth, and wherever that desire leads, the Ark remains hidden, silent, its secret kept by those who believe the world is not yet worthy to stand in its light. The mystery of the Ark of the Covenant did not end with ancient kings, crusaders, or secret orders. In fact, in the modern world, the search for the Ark has only grown more intense. Historians, archaeologists, and explorers from around the globe have dedicated their lives to uncovering what might be the most important religious artifact in human history. With every discovery, every fragment of scripture decoded, and every ancient ruin unearthed, new theories emerge, some rooted in faith, others in science, each trying to answer the question that has haunted humanity for over 500 years. Could the Ark of the Covenant still exist today? Modern exploration of the Ark's mystery began in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as archaeology began to bridge the gap between myth and history. Excavations around Jerusalem, especially near the Temple Mount, revealed hidden tunnels and sealed chambers that seemed to match ancient biblical descriptions. Some researchers believe these subterranean passages were built for one purpose: to protect the sacred relics of the temple, including the Ark itself. Yet, because of the immense political and religious sensitivity of the site, these excavations were halted, leaving the mystery buried beneath centuries of stone and silence. In the decades that followed, new theories began to spread across continents. Some experts turned their eyes toward Ethiopia, determined to prove or disprove the ancient claim that the Ark rests in Aksum. Several expeditions reached the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, where the Ark is said to be housed, but every request to view it was denied. The Guardian's silence only deepened the intrigue. In 1992, British journalist Graham Hancock investigated the Ethiopian connection and concluded that the Ark might indeed have been transported there during the reign of Solomon, not as a stolen treasure, but as a sacred exchange. His findings ignited worldwide debate, and for many, Ethiopia's claim became the most convincing theory yet. Others, however, turned their attention back to Israel. Archaeologist Ron Wyatt in the 1980s made one of the most controversial claims in modern history. He said he had discovered the Ark hidden in a chamber beneath the site of the crucifixion, sealed within the earth under the city of Jerusalem. According to Wyatt, it was divinely protected, and attempts to retrieve it would fail until the appointed time. His claim was dismissed by most academics, yet it inspired countless believers and adventurers to continue searching. The idea that the Ark might still rest beneath the holy city, untouched since the days of Jeremiah, remains one of the most enduring possibilities. Technology has added new dimensions to this quest. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and advanced scanning methods have allowed researchers to peer beneath ancient ruins without disturbing them. These technologies have revealed hidden chambers and voids beneath the Temple Mount, Mount Nebo, and even regions of the Sinai Peninsula. Each new discovery reignites speculation. Could one of these secret chambers hold the Ark, waiting to be found by modern hands? But as science advances, so too do alternative theories, some more speculative, others deeply symbolic. A growing number of theologians suggest that the Ark may not be a physical object at all, but a representation of divine connection, lost not in space but in spirit. They argue that humanity's obsession with finding it misses the true meaning of the covenant it represents, a spiritual bridge between man and God. Others go further, suggesting that the Ark's disappearance was intentional, that its divine energy was withdrawn from the world to prevent misuse in an age of corruption and war. Still, the tangible search continues. Adventurers have scoured deserts in Egypt, mountains in Jordan, and islands in the Red Sea. Theories link the Ark to Mount Nebo, where the prophet Jeremiah was said to have hidden it, to Tanis, an ancient Egyptian city where a mysterious gold chest was unearthed, even to Ireland, where legends speak of a sacred golden relic buried beneath a forgotten monastery. Each location adds another layer to the legend, another thread in a story that refuses to fade. There are also whispers within certain circles that world governments and powerful institutions might already know the Ark's location but have chosen to keep it secret. Some conspiracy theorists claim that the Ark's energy could be catastrophic if unleashed, while others suggest it is hidden under protection, waiting for a prophesied time when humanity will once again be ready to receive it. Whether truth or fantasy, such stories remind us that the Ark's power still commands awe in a world dominated by science and reason. Even today, in a century of satellites and artificial intelligence, the Ark remains elusive, untouchable. Its mystery endures because it stands at the intersection of faith, history, and the unknown. Every time a fragment of scripture is translated, every time a new chamber is discovered beneath Jerusalem, the question echoes louder: is the Ark still out there, waiting beneath our feet or hidden beyond our reach? The search continues not only through archaeology and technology, but through belief itself, for perhaps the Ark's greatest secret is not where it is hidden, but why it was hidden in the first place. For thousands of years, the Ark of the Covenant has remained more than just an artifact. It is a timeless enigma that bridges the worlds of faith, history, and legend. From the thunder of Mount Sinai to the deserts of Ethiopia, from the secret tunnels beneath Jerusalem to the whispered corridors of the Vatican, the Ark's trail weaves through human civilization like a divine thread that refuses to break. Every empire that rose and fell left behind ruins, but the Ark left behind a question that no age, no scholar, no conqueror has ever been able to answer. Where is it now? The Ark's power was never about gold or craftsmanship. It was about what it represented, the idea that humanity could connect directly with the divine, that something greater than kings, armies, or empires once walked among us. Its disappearance may not have been an accident, but a message that divine power cannot be possessed, only respected. Across the centuries, those who sought it for control met ruin, while those who revered it with faith found meaning far beyond treasure. Whether hidden in the mountains of Aksum, buried beneath the stones of the Temple Mount, or resting in a place untouched by human hands, the Ark's true legacy lies not in its location but in its enduring mystery. It reminds us that some truths are too vast to be owned, too sacred to be uncovered by force. Perhaps the Ark still waits for a time when humanity is ready, not to wield its power, but to understand its purpose. Until that day comes, the Ark of the Covenant remains the greatest, unsolved mystery of our world, a silent witness to history, faith, and the eternal longing of humankind to touch the face of God.